Welcome back to the Expat Files, everybody. Tay Nix here. Today's very special guest is a young man I met recently in Argentina, last November, 2024. And he is involved in something that a bunch of you are going to be very interested in. This is a bit of a departure for some of the material that I do on this channel, but my guest today is Maxim Smith. He is the son of Matt Smith, who also works with Doug Casey. Doug will be on shortly, so we'll get to that. Doug's actually coming on a podcast tomorrow, so if I release these in order, that's when you'll see him. But Maxim is the test case for a very interesting curriculum. So the focus today is on young men, and the book that just came out that was released by Maxim and Matt and Doug, three co-authors, is called The Preparation. More about that as we get into Maxim's story. Maxim, welcome. So good to talk to you. This is very exciting for me. I'm full of jitters, actually. This is going to be really, really great to talk to you about your experience now. You are 2 years into the preparation. So let's just explain what the preparation is briefly, because we're going to delve into it and people will see by the discussion exactly what this is all about. And you absolutely must go get the book. I already bought two copies for young friends of mine and mailed them off, hardback, of course. And
Nice.
but share with people what you're doing, what the preparation is, if you can summarize in your own words, and then let's go back and talk about where you were 2+ years ago, before, like when this was all still in the idea phase and you hadn't really set out on your own adventure.
Sure. Well, thank you, Tane, for having me. I really do appreciate it. The whole idea of the preparation is meant to be an alternative to college, a radical or alternative to college, because especially as we're seeing in recent years, it's actually not worth it. I mean, if you're factoring everything in, all the costs, including the opportunity cost of not working while you're going to college, it usually adds up to be around $300,000 for most people, the total cost of going to college over the span of 4 years. And $300,000 is the median income for most families, uh, or the median net worth of most families, sorry. And that's just crazy. That's wild that it costs that much. Plus, there's no telling if what you're learning during those 4 years is actually worth anything. And for most people, it's not. It's just theory. And then, especially with AI coming out now, it's taking lots of entry-level white-collar jobs off the board, which most people go to college for. Um, so, as the radical alternative to college, you're going out and doing real things, getting real experience, earning real skills, making money along the way, developing a vast network of international people, interesting international people, um, and gaining a different view of the world that most people will never get. Um, and within the preparation, there's 16 cycles. I guess we can dive into that a little bit later. But within those 16 cycles, you have 3 months. Each cycle is 3 months, 3 months of dedicated time towards earning one skill or another, that are dynamic and different each cycle.
I love it.
But I guess, to answer your question about how it all started.
Yes, take
um,
us back to, because I read a very humorous post. This had to be early on. The preparation was not written. This is 2+ years ago. And I follow your father's work a little bit. I mean, I try to keep up with as much and as many people that are worth reading as I can. And I remember reading something by you, and you and I just chatted before we hit record. So this would have been high school, middle school, and you were describing sitting around. You're in class. You're in Denver, I think, at this point, and
mhm.
your teacher, you're doing some kind of around the room. Everybody's introducing themselves, something like this, and your teacher's insisting, "Don't forget. Make sure you tell people what your pronouns are." And I just remember it was like such a forehead slapping moment for me. Schools have been headed in the wrong direction in the U.S. for a long time. I've been gone from the U.S. for 35 years on and off. I mean, I did go to college and had a ass kicking experience, but my thing was kind of the exception. I'll mention more later, but high schools, middle schools, right? The insanity that really kicked in 2020 was obviously like a big wake up call for a lot of people. But anybody in the system already knew that this was going on, and like the madness, like the inmates were running the asylum, as the saying goes. And so, where were you psychologically 2+ years ago as you guys were relocating to South America? And what was life like for you, like say pre-18, you're 20 years old now. And so, prior to the preparation taking the form that it has in this excellent book, talk to people about your outlook, your thoughts about the future, right? The idea of becoming a man, like in the kind of world that we saw unfold starting in 2020.
Sure. I mean, before starting the preparation, I had some those wild experiences that you mentioned in middle school. It was actually the ADL that my school brought in, the Anti-Defamation League,
Eesh.
to have us sit around and talk about bullying and our pronouns. And then some wild experiences in high school. I was only in high school for 2 or 3 months, and it was all online. But the first couple days, the principal was wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt. The English teacher was wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt, and the science teacher was talking about pronouns as well. Um, so at that point, I definitely knew that there was something very wrong with the education system alone. But at that point, I already had an idea that I didn't want to go to college. I was pretty certain that I didn't want to. Um, and then later on, I got a girlfriend that was a couple years older than me. She was in college and she went to the University of Alabama, which big party school, of course. So it's already going to be a little bit worse than everywhere else, really. But when I went there, my thoughts on college were proved true. I saw that 80% of the time people are really doing nothing. I can't remember what my ex-girlfriend was studying. I think it was biology, but she couldn't tell me a thing about biology.
Right.
So it's crazy to be around people who they have the illusion of forward progress, illusion of learning something, with the added bonus of getting to party, um, and mess around most of the time, hang out most of the time. So it was a interesting experience, and that solidified my idea of not wanting to go to college. And then we moved down here to Uruguay in October of 2021, and this was all happening about the same time. I was going back and forth from here in the States. But as time crept forward, I I didn't know what to do. As I got closer to 18, I was like, man, I have no idea what I want to do in the future. And I could feel that anxiety building because I knew that college wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to go to the military, especially living down here, going into the trades wouldn't work out. Um, so I was like, man, what am I going to do? And I remember the last thing I did before the preparation started accidentally.
If you think offshore structures like where to bank, how to invest in foreign real estate, and where to set up your foreign trust are difficult or complicated, they're not. That's not the hard part of creating an international lifestyle. The hardest part is the decision to go. That's why I wrote Secrets of the Expat Adventure, to share with you a deeply personal view of what happens when you decide to cast off the chains of a normal life full of predictable outcomes. I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but you quickly discover yourself living your best life, the life you were meant to live, instead of the one you're stuck with. Across 156 pages, I'll share the incredible adventure I've enjoyed because of my decision to leave my old life behind and create an international lifestyle. I lay out for you the consequences of remaining in a life or location where everything is familiar, contrasting that with the almost magical growth and gain that is possible once you decide to take the path of adventure. There's something deeply mysterious about choosing an adventurous life. Once you commit, helpers appear, and events seem to unfold in an almost magically choreographed manner. You find yourself learning, living, and loving your life in a way that you thought you'd lost forever. There is no financial gain that compares with the recovery of the best parts of yourself. Fortunately, the decision to internationalize is also a great way to get wealthy. I give you real examples of how much easier it was for me to find and profit from the real estate and other investment opportunities I came across simply by choosing to play on the very uneven playing field of developing markets. If you're worried about what's happening in your home country and you're on the fence about whether or not you should create your own plan B, Secrets of the Expat Adventure will give you clarity and inspiration to choose your own path of freedom and adventure. I promise you'll never look at your life the same way again once you discover what an international lifestyle can do for you, your family, and your wealth. To get your copy, click the link below this video.
Was I went to a Wrangler school in the States in Wyoming, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be a Wrangler. And the guy who ran this course he is very popular on YouTube. Very, very popular. He's known for being a man's man, for supporting the youth, young men, and trying to lift them up, trying to be encouraging for them. So on my 12-hour drive back home, I was like, you know what? I think I want to ask this guy if I can work for him. I don't expect any pay. I just want to learn. And I was expecting to hear something from him because after all, this is the guy who supports young men, apparently. So when I got home to Idaho, I sent him a message, and I sent him an email and a text, and he didn't reply. And I was like, wow, shocking. And
Nothing.
being a dumb, yeah, and being a dumb 17-year-old, I was like, man, this is it. There's nothing else. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And I said that to my dad. I was like, man, I don't know what to do. And this is where the preparation really started because my dad reached back out to Doug Casey, who had been trying to get him to write a book, which is now the preparation, for over a decade. And my dad never had any interest in it until he saw that I was lost. And so that's where the preparation all started, was July of 2023.
Okay. Nice. And talk about your first sort of, like, we talk about the book, as Maxim said, is the curriculum is broken down into 16 3-month cycles. Now, this is a guide, obviously, but the idea is that, look, you're 18, or, I really started my preparation because I really did follow by instinct a good deal of what is in the book. And I did 3 months as a second engineer on a large motor yacht in Fort Lauderdale. It just ran up and down the ditch, the intercoastal waterway. But I learned enough to be a second engineer, and I learned that I didn't want to be a second engineer aboard motor yachts. But the idea being that you get a lot of breadth to your experience by doing it hands-on quickly, and then, hey, swipe left, or, oh, this is something I'll go deeper into, which we'll talk about here going forward. But that with the preparation, the notion is, like, when I was 18, I didn't sleep, period. And so you have this tremendous vigor and youth and energy. I mean, youth is everything. And so you started out in your first real study. You mentioned Wrangler School, which I did not know about, but then you got medical skills quickly. Talk
Mhm.
about that. I don't even know. Was that your first module that sort of morphed into, okay, I'm on the path?
Yeah, that was the first thing. That was the first cycle that I really consider part of the preparation. That was like the full beginning of it in my mind. And that all came from a list, which was really the genesis of the preparation, from Doug Casey. And that was a list of games, activities, and occupations that he thought if a young man were competent in most, if not all of them, he would be far ahead of everybody else. And so my dad added EMT to the list of occupations. And he just said, you know what? Why don't you try to look for an EMT school around you? This can be the first thing you do. I found one 30 minutes away, and then I started. And I should have taken the accelerated course, which was 2 months, but I took the 4-month long course, full EMT course. And then a couple months after that, I got certified as an EMT after taking the national exam. So that
And
was the first big thing.
I love it. So emergency medical training skills,
Hmm.
pretty valuable, right? Like, anywhere you go, hey, there's been a car accident up ahead, right? I have medical skills, or somebody's been injured, or, right, something happens around the house. And instead of freaking out and rushing to the emergency room where you get fleeced, right, you have some ability to deal with things in your environment. So
Right.
very good. Why do you say that you should have gone with the accelerated path? I'm going somewhere with this.
Because it was only two classes a week for 4 hours, 8 a.m. to noon. And I think it's easily doable. I had more time on my hands than I knew what to do with.
Did
So
you
it'd be
find
easy.
did you
Yeah,
find
sorry.
the
Go ahead.
curriculum? Yeah, did you find the curriculum? Was the pace of the learning also too easy, like too manageable? So like I can do this faster.
Yeah, yeah, except for brief moments where you felt the anxiety of a test coming along, and so you thought you had to study for 8 hours a day. Yeah, it's easily doable. I mean, I think the accelerated course would have been only one or two more classes a week, which is
Yeah.
100% manageable.
Yeah. Was
Um,
this a community college setting or is this an actual like is it an EMT school? Is it a specialty like vocational college that
yeah, it was an actual EMT school. That's the one nice thing about, even though it is basic level, foundational level stuff, it doesn't require you to enter into a college course. Whereas, like, if you go two steps up to becoming a paramedic, you are pretty much required to get an associate's degree
right,
along with doing all that. It's kind of like going into the trades in a
right,
way.
right. Okay. Well, I have to intersperse my own experience because looking back
Mhm.
now, 27 years after I started in 1997, really, my own adventure of trying to figure out also what I wanted to be and do and become, um, that what you find is that your learning does get faster. You learn how to learn faster with each iteration. And here I'm talking like cross-disciplinary. So you studied medicine and then you want to go build a house, for example. Well, you're going to outlearn those people too, right? Because medicine that's no light potatoes, right? If you're talking about people's health and right and possibly life and death kind of situations, boy, you buckle down. Like you don't want to be a hack at something like medicine. And so that learning will carry over. I'm interested to hear what you say about because we got to talk about flight school and sailing and a bunch of other stuff you've already done. So, okay, so you get what kind of skills do you get with EMT training, like CPR, right? Puncture wounds, right? What setting bones, like what exact like hardcore skills did you pick up?
Yeah, I mean it changes based upon your protocol. So depending upon where you go to school, they'll teach you slightly different things. I mean, there's
Sure.
the basic foundational stuff that's pretty much all the same, but state to state it can change. Yeah, you get CPR stuff. You get man, um, tons of like medical illness training. You get the medical side and then the trauma side of things.
Yep.
And we don't, at least I didn't learn how to set bones. I went to a um, wilderness first responder course later on, and that's where I learned how to do that, at least some basic stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, stabilization of C-spine, um, man, how to treat, how to, I mean, I can't even, there's too many things coming to mind
Yeah,
at the moment.
burns, right? Like,
Burns, of
yep,
course.
yep,
Um, but most of it isn't actually treating it. It's kind of just recognizing signs and symptoms and getting to the hospital as soon as possible.
right.
Um, so that's the bigger component of things, along with treating it. I mean, for example, later on, earlier this year, I went to be an apprentice on a geophysics crew, and there was this accident which could have been much worse, where Um, you're basically working with live wires that send several amps through it, and I think 4 amps is enough to easily kill a cow. And on the low end, 4 amps are going through these electrical wires. Well, when we were sending an electrical signal through the wires, some guy touched it and was shocked. And the only thing that saved him, I think, was his wedding ring, because it redirected the current away from his heart. Otherwise, I think it would have just killed him right away.
Mhm.
Um, but he got some burns from it, and it was like right away, as soon as I heard that happened, I kind of already knew what to do. I
Yeah.
started formulating a plan of what to expect, what I might see as I was running down the mountain trying to get to him. So it's just these skills apply in very different areas that you wouldn't quite expect.
But how
Luckily,
fantastic, yeah, how fantastic is that? That right away you find yourself in a situation where you're useful, or potentially, right? If obviously if things have been worse, like, all right, here's what we got to do. We got to, we got to get him out. We got to get him to a, some kind of facility as quickly as possible. Here's how we're going to do it. That kind of thing. Emergency medical training. It's on my list. So and learning how to treat burns also mattered because you went and we're on a crew that deals with wildfires every year. Talk about that
yeah.
experience and how it was and how you got into it, et cetera.
Well, I got into it because, and this is a product of what can come from doing something like this, especially for younger people. It came from a random, out of the blue opportunity. Some guy named Tyler Olson, who runs a company called Minuteman EMS, saw that I was actively trying to pursue something, saw that I got my EMT certification and was trying to make lots of progress in doing new things. So he said, uh, hey, if you want to, I can help you get all the certifications you need, and I can point you the way to getting to the point where you can work on my EMS crew. And so the year after getting my EMT cert, I worked on wildfires for a total of 41 days last year. Um, One fire was 150,000 acres at its peak, and another fire was a complex of several different fires. And those were all 10,000 plus acre fires. Um, the whole experience was very interesting and eye-opening. I mean, not only because that was my first EMS job where I actually get to put the skills into practice. I didn't see any burns from fires themselves, but you get things like poison oak and lots of blisters. Foot fungus is a huge one, unfortunately, from guys wearing boots all day. But also heat-related illnesses like heat exhaustion and heat stroke.
Aloe is the
Uh,
best for foot fungus, by the way. Yeah, and smoke inhalation, like did guys go down with because they're wearing, right? They're wearing ventilators and
no,
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 really. Oh
they're
wow.
not. There was one 19-year-old who his voice was super raspy because he was just inhaling too much smoke all day. So he was feeling pretty bad for a little while. And his SpO2, which is measuring uh, how much gas basically is attached to the hemoglobin, which is your red blood cells. It was below the usual limit. It was in the 80s, I think, and it should be above 94. But anyway, we can get off into the weeds with little things like that. So yeah, there were lots of interesting things, but also I got a glimpse into the world of wildfires and just seeing how it is a little bit of a scam. Honestly, I mean, millions of dollars get funneled into wildfires, and they inflate the acres burned to what I think it's done on purpose. I think they're trying to get more money funneling into it each year because at least driving around that 150,000 acre fire, it wasn't 150,000 acres. We were in spots on the map where it showed that it was burned, but it was all green around us. So they're just measuring the basic perimeter of the
Being
fire.
very generous with the size. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably easier and faster to make a list that of things that aren't being inflated and scammed when it comes to siphoning off government
Yeah.
money. But that's fascinating. But you also, you file that kind of knowledge and that experience away as here's how the world really works. The
100%.
the incentive is to have a bigger fire. And so, but I mean that is interesting. So you saw some action. I mean there were people fighting fires, there were people who were injured fighting fires and who had medical health kind of considerations to deal with. So you cut your teeth there. And what came next? I don't want to I don't want to jump around too much. I know you did a hell of a sailing trip that I'm deeply jealous of. What was the next stage or step or rotation for you?
Yeah, I just want to say really quickly, wildfires are a great thing, and I highly recommend people work on them, especially if you're a young man, because there's a social aspect that, I mean, you are forced to live with people for months on end if you're there for long enough. Um, but also you make great money and you learn how to fight fire
It's
or
good
treat
money.
patients.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard. I heard you were making
Um,
what, $6 a day.
yeah, $600 a day. So I don't want to end on the note that it's a scam because there's lots of good that can come from it. But what was next after that? I mean, I can't quite remember. There was a kind of blank period of time where it was difficult to figure out what I was going to do next, which has become much easier now that we have the cycles, which is something I didn't have. We didn't create it until the end of last year, early this year. And it makes things much more structured. So there was a blank period where I wasn't quite sure what to do. I was still doing stuff consistently.
Yeah, you have
Um,
some background tasks that you're into reading.
yeah,
I catch your various quotes and hey, I'm into this book now, and here's a great title for you guys. So let's get your reading list, but also fighting, learning how to grapple. Pretty valuable
yeah.
skill for a young guy, Like at some point, the goal of learning how to fight at some level, right, is I know how to fight. I don't need to fight, right? Like here I'm talking about some asshole wants to break a bottle over your head. And it's like, what for? Like I don't need to fight this guy, but you also don't need to be a victim of, random sporadic violence or anything else. But the lesson of fighting in part is anybody, when it comes to violence, absolutely anything can happen. And grappling, I know you're into jujitsu. I know you're off to do some kickboxing as well. These are great skills because, in part, you learn what violence really is, not bullshit that you see on TV, where the hero takes a licking, but he lays out five guys single-handed and all the rest. That's not what real violence is. Real violence is really dangerous, and there is no knife and no gun that can't fuck you for good. And so understanding also like, okay, we want to make sure that that I never have to put this into practice, or that if I do, that I know how to get out of it quickly. And so talk about the background tasks and maybe some of the things you've just done as kind of ongoing learning that also fits into the curriculum that your father and Doug have laid out.
Well, first off, you're absolutely right. The more you learn about fighting, the more you realize how dangerous things are. I mean, once you've been close to being choked out or you have been choked out, you realize how quickly things can go wrong.
Bingo.
Um, but that's one of the major aspects of the activities within each cycle, is fighting. And that could be BJJ, that could be Muay Thai, it could be kickboxing, lots of different things. But along with fighting, there's also things like learning guitar or piano, learning a second or third language, lots of different things. Could be auto racing, which is one thing we have in the book. Motocross, could be sailing, or sorry, skydiving or scuba diving, which is something I've done. I guess that was one thing I got during that kind of blank period of time. Another kind of background task for me personally, it's kind of an occupational thing, is working on the ranch here in
Yep.
Uruguay as well. Um, but yeah, we have a whole list of very,
Describe the ranch to people because you're in a really unique situation down there as well. How big is it? How many head of cattle? And what do you do on the ranch, or what do you get to do? Because I know some of the stuff, but tell our viewers what you're up to down there.
well, the ranch is about 500 hectares, and it's north of Punta del Este, Uruguay. Um, this was one of my cycles within the preparation actually, was to learn a lot of stuff on the ranch, learn a lot of the ranch work. So um, my second cycle really was doing stuff on the ranch, and I learned how to fix and build fences, drive tractors, use the implements on tractors, um, raise and treat cattle. and shoe horses as well. Um, but usually, most of our work on the ranch is just, I mean, the big periods of work are either uh, mowing, which sounds a little odd, but there's really bad weeds that take things over. So there's lots of mowing with the tractors. But also the hands-on work with the cows as well. There's lots of periods where you need to do vaccinations,
Yep.
or we've done it a few
Birth,
times, artificial
calves.
insemination.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So there's lots of free time, actually, surprisingly enough, when it comes to ranching or farming. But the periods of work are pretty intense, which
And
is,
how many head do you guys have down there?
I think we have about 240 at this
Okay.
point.
Oh,
So a
that's a
decent
decent
amount.
size.
Yeah.
500
Yeah.
hectares is a lot of land. So you guys got a lot to look after there.
Yeah, we do. I mean, a lot of it on the other half of our property isn't really usable for pasture, for grazing. So maybe it's only 400 and something that we use for grazing, but it's still quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What fun. And so you know how to ride, obviously.
Mhm. Yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
Nice. And background tasks. We mentioned reading. What's your reading list? Like, what are some significant? Because I was mad when I was that age or slightly older than you because I started later. And this is the part of the point too. I just make this point. Like, if you're a young guy also watching this, it doesn't matter when you start. It actually doesn't matter. And I'm going to bring this home at the end because I want to highlight something that's already happened multiple times in this recording, just in our short chat here with Maxim. And that is that things line up when you make a decision. Doors open, strange little meetings occur, helpers appear, mentors come along, opportunities drop in your lap. Like, oh, look at that. I just finished EMT and this guy wants me to go fight fires. How about that for a coincidence? It's like once you get this thing spinning and start but really start like with a real vision for your life, you cannot imagine the things that happen. This happened to me in my life, like over and over again. This podcast is not about me, but because I have so much to say about this topic, it's worthwhile to realize that man, if you put your shoulder to the wheel and really try to get it done, the moment you begin, little forces start sort of congealing around you, and there's a whole like magnetic pull of things that starts to occur. It's just a fact. It's how the universe is structured, if that's new age enough for everybody, but it's real. It's true, right? These synchronicities do occur, and
100%.
you will find yourself, right, in the next few years living by these coincidences, these little strange happenstance kind of, oh, then this guy came along and wouldn't you know it, I was able to help and boom, it went off in a new direction. So that's beautiful. Talk about your sailing adventure because I'm insanely jealous of this. You took a how big was the boat? Where did you guys sail from and to? And talk about the experience and also the significance of it to you to be. I mean, you did blue water sailing around the tip of South America, which is like the most dangerous stretch of ocean in the entire planet. Talk about how that came about and what it was like being at sea.
Well, this ties in kind of what you were just saying about these random opportunities or just little tips from people that come out of the blue. So the whole sailing trip was a suggestion from Matt Bracken, who is a longtime
I love the
sailor.
man. Yeah, yeah. I got to get an
Yeah.
introduction. Yeah. What a writer.
So it was it was from him. It was just a random suggestion of here's something you should do. Um, so the boat was 72
Matt
feet.
Matt Bracken, for those who don't know, he's ex-military, but he's a sailor. I think to this day, he must still have a boat, but he's written some really, really excellent fiction, dystopian kind of fiction that really makes you think, because this guy knows what he's writing about, and the books are highly, highly readable. Check out anything by Matt Bracken, Bracken, I believe. He's all over Audible and everything else, and I've read his work. I actually devoured it earlier this year, like one right after the other. It's very compelling reading, and the guy is very, very well thought out. So yes, 72 foot. steel catch or something, right?
It's kind of more of a schooner, because it had a mainsail, a mizzen, and then it had a Genoa jib and staysail in the front. So quite a big boat, especially for someone who's never sailed before. Um, about 72 feet long,
How many
and
crew?
it was. I got lucky having more crew so they could help me learn more. It was five crew, I think, in total, and two other customers for the sailing trip.
Wonderful.
We're both older ladies. Actually, they were, I think, both in their 60s or 70s, which was kind of surprising. But we
Good for
started out
them.
in the Falkland Islands. We took a plane from Punta Arenas, Chile, which is right at the tip of Chile, really. And then we flew over to Stanley, which is the main town of the Falkland Islands. And I think Stanley has, or the Falklands as a whole, has a population of 5,000 people.
With
Uh,
500,000 sheep or something.
it's got quite a lot of sheep, less now than it did in the past because they've had too much overgrazing, but yeah, quite a lot. And when you land there, you land on a military base. You can't take any pictures or videos. And the whole reason for that is because the Falklands War between uh, England and Argentina in the 80s, I think. And they still have this weird feud to this day. But we got on the boat and we had to wait out some bad weather for a few days before setting sail for the first time. But man, it sucked. It sucked at first, especially sailing at night. I have kind of a weak stomach, so seasickness really got to me. And I remember thinking to myself the first night sailing, man, I can't believe I'm gonna have to do this for 3 more weeks. Because I just
Yeah,
felt
it's
so bad.
brutal. Yeah, it is brutal. The first sign is you feel like going to sleep. And then obviously, nausea, vomiting. Like, I don't know how bad it got for you, but it is brutal watching people and they get all glassy eyed. And you can't really move, right? Because you got no power in your limbs, and like just the whole thing just turns you upside down. So you're very brave to stick it out, but I guess you didn't have a choice either.
No, I didn't have a choice. I didn't
You
have
got
a choice.
shanghaied. And how
Yeah, it
long
was.
is the journey from Falklands to what'd you go through? The Magellan Strait, yeah? A Drake Passage
Yeah,
or
yeah. We went through the Strait of Magellan first. It was I think that first night, that first kind of leg we did was about 14 hours, and then we spent a couple weeks sailing around the western side of the
oh
Falklands.
wow. Oh nice.
Um, and we would stop at different islands to explore, but along the way, we are in the competent crew course that we were there for, which basically means that you have a foundational level of knowledge and you can work on a sailing boat. You at least have some credentials that people can look at and go, oh yeah, okay, I might bring you on. But in between hopping between all those islands, we were doing sailing maneuvers the entire time,
Yeah.
which was fantastic. And then that final leg was that ocean crossing, which was a couple days long from the Western Falklands over to Punta Arenas and through the Strait of Magellan.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was rough. There was lots of seasickness again.
Yeah. And did the seas get big and ugly, and were you guys just banging through great big waves and the wind and all that? How was the wind when you came through? Because obviously it's famous for being the roughest patch of ocean in the world. Was it nasty going through there?
We timed it pretty well, so the weather was better. The fetch, which is like the height of the waves, wasn't too bad, and the wind wasn't too bad either. Actually, we had worse wind in the Falklands than we did
Mm,
in the ocean crossing, so we got lucky on that front. But
nice.
it was still rough nonetheless. Not
Yeah.
as bad as it usually is in that area of the world.
The ocean is never gentle. It really isn't. I mean, you can have a day or a few hours where it's pleasant, but by and large, it's a fairly athletic uh enterprise to be aboard any kind of 72 feet is that's large for a sailing boat. That's a lot of sailboat, but on the ocean, it's nothing, right? And
Yeah.
so Well, you got the whole experience then. And so and then you guys rounded and where did you put in where? In Valparaiso or
We stopped in Punta Arenas.
Punta Arenas? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where we got off, and we had to stay there for a few days because Chilean customs isn't all that great.
Yes.
But yeah, that's
I
where we
read your
ended
post.
the
Yeah.
tour.
And will you be back to sea? I mean, did it grab you the way it grabbed me? Like, did it do something for your soul that makes you want to go back to sea or not?
100%. And I think that's something I've noticed with every cycle within the preparation is, I don't really have a strong interest to do anything that I have done. I didn't want to go to EMT school, really. I didn't have any interest in it. And then I really enjoyed it when I was done with it. Same with sailing. I had no interest in sailing, really. And I am not a fan of the water either. But afterwards, I certainly did gain an appreciation for it all, appreciation for the ocean and for
It's magic.
sailing. Same thing with wildfires. I mean, really anything. I think anything you do within the preparation is going to work that way, where it's like you're not all that interested, but you know it's something you probably should do, and then it becomes
Interesting.
interesting.
And what
Yeah.
about now? Like, do you look forward to, oh, I can't wait till I get to, this, whether it's auto racing or Muay Thai, kickboxing. Like, do you look forward now? Like, has that part of you changed where you're like, even if I'm not into this on some level, I know it's going to be awesome. So I'm into it or I'm excited about, when this rotation comes up or when this module comes up. Has that started to shift for you? Are you looking forward now with,
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if it's necessarily changed in that I look forward to it directly. I just think I look forward to um, having another thing in general under my belt and adding that to the list of everything
yeah,
else that I've already been able to do.
I
Like
hear you.
seeing it all in a bigger picture is much more interesting than just going, oh, I'm going to train Muay Thai in Thailand for a little bit. That's cool. But when you combine that to everything you've done before that, it's even better.
That's great. That's really great. Man, I'm so happy for you. You're not only having an experience of a lifetime doing this, that you're having the experience of a lifetime, which kind of matters. And what I mean by that is it's one thing if you say you came from your family's well to do and you could do anything you want. And so you sort of dabble in a bunch of stuff, but you do it because it's there and why not kind of thing versus, but I'm building something here and I don't know what it is. And it's going to be super exciting to see what this turns into
Mhm.
because look at the last several units I've done. And, I can see I was there, I came through, now I'm here, and this is what's happening for me now. And oh my God, what's my life going to be like in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 20 years? So I have to interject. So, my own sailing experience, I've had mentors. I've been very lucky, and I looked for mentors, and I found them. Just again, right through random haphazard circumstances because I was looking. And I teamed up the guy who mentored me in sailing and seamanship first, Captain John Godersky. I have no idea if he's still alive. I found him in Charleston. This would have been 1996, probably. And I went off to Europe to teach for a year, but I kept in touch with him. And
Mhm.
he was in his early 60s when I knew him. And we talked about, right? I just met him walking the docks at a marina in Charleston, which is a beautiful town. And I would do day charters with him to just try to be less ignorant about what makes a sailboat move and how to raise and lower sails, et cetera, et cetera. He had a 47-foot catch and nice boat. And then I met up with him. I actually called him from Europe. I said, listen, are we going? Because I'm going to tell him I'm putting in my papers. Like I'm not coming back. I was supposed to teach for 2 years and I cut it off after 1 year and just had a wild, wild adventure in Europe. And there was no way I could go back to the U.S. and get a job or anything. And I had some money, right? I felt wealthy at the time, and so I took off on the Evening Star out of Charleston, South Carolina, and we ended up in the Bahamas for about 6 months. I learned what I needed to learn, and then various circumstances fell out, which I won't cover here because it'll bore our audience, and ended up in Cuba for God's sake, and then right made my way south to Central America where I bought property and had my adventure down there, which I've talked to you about. But
Mhm.
I found that all through my life, like with other mentors as well, not just Captain John, in video, in dancing, in learning language, in medicine, was my big one. Um, there are people who will mentor young folks just because you want to learn. And so it's great to find, an EMT course. I did that stuff too. I had to go back and take anatomy and physiology in order to I eventually sat for a medical license in Colorado, strangely enough. And
Mhm.
you have to pass certain things, obviously, to be competent at medicine. My medicine was Chinese medicine, acupuncture, herbs, etc. And but all throughout my life, and this is still going on to this day, I'll still run into people who are like, well, why don't you just come along and, like come with us. You can learn on the way, right? This kind of thing. And this happened to me over and over and over again. And so there's something to be said. And a lot of this is really, it's not a mystery that that happens. It really is the case that there's so many older folks maybe past their prime physically, but still at the top of their game, like in what they do. My videographer, I tried to pay the guy year after year. Sometimes I would just have to pay his brother. I'd be like, just make sure he has the money when he needs it, kind of thing. Because, right, some of these people just will not take, they're so happy to share. My point is, they're so happy to share what they have with somebody who's young and eager and open and genuinely like, hey, I'm here to learn. Like, how can I help? Give me the task that you don't want to do and coach me on it, please. Right? Copywriting was like this for me too. That you just can't go wrong. And I think that raw energy that young people bring is everybody values it. Everybody admires it. Everybody wants it, And if you bring
Right.
it and that's what you bring to the party, it's a big deal for a lot of older people to just mentor you. And so I know that's going to happen to you. I know that's going to be, part of your journey. You're going to meet people like, actually, I'm really interested in this and this guy wants to teach me. I'm going to do it and I'm going to go deep. And so anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but that's so great. So sailing, and then
Yeah.
what is coming next? Have we covered everything that you've done in the last, say, 2 years or so?
Oof. I mean, it's
Not
been
really.
quite a lot. We've hit upon some of the bigger things for sure, the more notable things like learning how to work on the ranch here, EMT school, wildfires, sailing, still in flight school at the
Yes,
moment.
flight school. My goodness. So you started your private pilot's license, and how did you
Correct.
take to flying? How was that for you?
Um, it's a tough skill, especially landings. Man,
Tricky.
uh, they are tricky, and they're the hardest part of it all, really. I mean, I've really enjoyed it though. It's been
Yeah.
interesting. You also get good radio skills, which translate across lots of different things. I mean, in EMS, working on wildfires, you need to know
Yep.
how to
Being at
speak on
sea,
the
knowing how
radio,
to talk on the radio. Exactly.
but you also get navigational skills as well, along with just the fact that you know how to fly a plane.
Yeah.
So lots of good has come from it. I started flying in Colorado. I started flying at a poor time in Colorado. I didn't factor in the bad mountain weather.
Mm.
So that didn't allow me to get in nearly as much time as I wanted to. But then I came back down to Uruguay and I wanted to continue it. And I found out that all of my hours that I gain here, as long as I do it under, of course, a certified flight instructor, can be translated over to the States. So I've been
Oh,
flying
wonderful.
here as well. Um,
And how does that work? You have to get a certain amount of hours with an instructor, then you need to solo, right? And then you have to sit for a big written exam and I imagine solo or something, right, for your license. Is that more or less correct?
yes, exactly. So you do have that written exam, which you can complete fairly early on. I did probably a month of studying to get it done. But then you do have to hit a minimum requirement of 40 flight hours, which really isn't all that much. I'm at 30 right now. You do have to solo. You do have to do some country flights as well.
Oh, wow.
I think You also have to fly at night one
Fly
or
at
two
night.
times.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah.
And then you do have your check ride, which is actually flying with an FAA
Yeah.
person who's going to grade you on how well you can fly, and put you through some tests, and then you have an oral exam as well. And that's how you do it all. And I've just checked a few of those boxes because it takes so long to do
Yeah.
everything. I mean, they kind of lie to you saying you can get it done in 40 hours because most people get it done in about 60 to 80 total
Yeah.
flight hours or so.
Right.
So it takes a lot of
And
time.
is there a window where you have to complete certain, like you can do this in an ongoing kind of way and not lose your hours because like it has to be done within a certain window, like a year or 2 years or something? Is it like that? Or you can just, if you want to stretch it out and take your time, you have all the time in the world to do it.
I think you can stretch it out, but it's really if you want to because you can lose those skills so quickly. I mean, my girlfriend's dad was a pilot for a very long time, flying for airlines, and he said even if you're just away from flying for a month or two, it's like you have to relearn how to fly the first couple flights you get back into doing it.
Interesting.
Um, you get back to work, so it's something you want to keep doing and get it done
Yeah.
kind of as fast as possible.
Right.
Um, Otherwise, you start to lose those skills
Sure.
slowly but surely.
Sure. And so talk about your transformation. Talk about, we heard starting out like, yeah, it's a little anxiety inducing, trying to figure out what you're supposed to do with your life. You told me something interesting, I think, when we talked in Argentina, or maybe subsequent to that, which was that
Mhm.
the first reaction people had when you told them, or when you tell them that, no, actually, college isn't for me, and I decided I'm not going that direction, was something a mixture of scorn and pity, right? For like, gee, what are you going to do? Oh, that's too bad. But talk about sort of how it's been for you and where you are now compared to 2 years ago and the person you were, the boy you were, if I could say that, 'cause I know your father said, and I believe it. I don't know you that well, but I've also seen over just the period of 2 years, you start developing the kind of thinking and actions and behavior and the kind of mental outlook that makes you a man. Talk about that transformation. How has that been for you going through it, like actually living it and having, did you have aha moments where at various times you kind of realize like this is really happening? What has that been like?
That's a good question, Tane. That's a good question. It's been very interesting because starting off, I definitely was a boy. I had never done anything, never had any major accomplishments. I mean, I didn't even play sports in school, so on that level, a very small and insignificant level, I had zero accomplishments prior to the preparation. So I had nothing to base any confidence off of. And it was tough for a while, especially in the beginning, because there were several times in the beginning of the preparation where I was unsure of whether or not doing all of this would actually pan out to anything.
Yeah.
Mostly because a lot of the people around me um, would think what everybody else thinks, which is, well, there's a few paths to success, and that's college being the primary one, the military, or the trades. And so when you don't have that, at least when I didn't have that encouragement of people around me besides my dad, of people saying, no, there is something here, it was much more difficult. And I would say I relied heavily upon other people's encouragement then, much more than I do now. And I would complain a lot about things that seem minor now. I mean, just
Like what?
little.
Like the hardness of the journey, or what specifically?
Even things as basic as chores, honestly.
Yeah.
And I don't mean chores assigned to me by my parents. I mean just things that should be done around you to keep things uh, ship shape, you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
even mowing the lawn or it's too hot out, like very trivial things. It was
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of ridiculous. I mean, just what a boy would be upset about.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh, I don't want to do this right now. I'd rather mess around, whatever. Very trivial things. I was much more sensitive to any difficulty that would come my way, even if it was totally expected difficulty, like, for example, um, signing up to take the national exam for the becoming an EMT. Not
Right.
a not a super big deal. You have to give them information and fill out forms and whatever. But even that was like, oh man, is this even worth it? Which is
Right.
ridiculous because on the
Right,
other
right.
side of that, there's this whole new world opened up to you
Oh,
just by
that's so
completing
great.
this. So I think in terms of being able to face difficulties, there's definitely been times where I think I fall back and I stop making progress and things are more difficult. But overall, I think on the front of just dealing with life's natural difficulties,
Yeah.
I think I'm better than I was before.
I dare say you probably are. Well, partly what you're describing makes me think of, I wrote something about this a while ago. I can't remember exactly where I posted it, but the difference between discipline, which is
Hmm.
finite, and pull motivation. I mean, the vision that you have for your life as a young man, if you can get excited about being alive, um, is that you develop a vision of, and it's not clear, it's necessarily vague, but you
Hmm.
probably have heroes. You probably have, I mean, your father's a good example, right? This is a guy who really pulled himself up and he's tremendously successful. Doug is a great example. So you have examples around you of people who really grabbed life by the throat and really went and did something that's like it's undeniable, right? The achievements speak for themselves. And so you have this vision, and that's pull motivation. And it will see you through a lot of grind and tough times and setbacks and failures, which are going to happen. Um, because you have that vision and you can always go back to it. It's like you go inside and you daydream a little bit and it's like, yeah, but it's all going to be worth it because, here's where it's leading me. And in fact, you cannot see where it's leading you. It's not possible. I've
Right.
lived enough of these cycles in my own life to know that it's like your task as a young man is to master the day. If you can just get your day right, where you're not either anxious and worried or like jerking off about stupid stuff and wasting the brief span of years that you have. If you master the day, watch what happens, because that really is the because the metaphor that's often given is like, obviously the tadpole does not know what it is to be a frog, right? That, like, they're swimming around and they have this entire worldview that's based on being a tadpole, and then something happens, or maybe the caterpillar into the butterfly, like something tremendous happens, and this will happen. It's almost like folding your life over. You fold all your old experience into the new thing, master that, and then you're off in a direction. You're like, I could never have imagined this happening to me, and I mean, it is happening to you right now. That's exactly what you're in. And so discipline is not bullshit. You need it because like you said, I'm the same way, man. Anytime I had to submit paperwork to keep my license current for practicing medicine, it's just like, do I really have to? And it's every 4 years, right? That's how bad I am. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I got to get this paperwork together, and it takes you a few hours to jumble everything together and send it off with your payment. And
Right.
so discipline is necessary because you can't really, like, your life goes to pieces if you don't have the ability to just like, all right, grit my teeth for the next half hour and do my taxes or whatever it is. But the pull motivation, if you have just a modicum of discipline, like, this is like becoming who you want to be, is not about being uber disciplined and uber regimented, which is a lot of what people face in college because nobody wants to go sit in a cubicle for 60 hours a week. You know that you don't want to do that. So this weird thing that people do to themselves where they destroy some part of the best part of themselves to go do something that they don't want to do in the first place and that nobody else cares that you've done by the time you achieve it. And so discipline is overrated because, yes, you can go very far with real iron-willed kind of discipline, but play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right? And pull motivation is entirely different because it means that whatever comes your way, if you fall down and scrape your knee or whatever happens to you along the way, it's like, all right, well, so what? I mean, what is that in the grand scheme of my entire plan and my whole life? And you pull yourself forward because it's worth it to keep going. And you know that it's, as you start to gain experience and victories start racking up, it's like, I did this. Of course I can do that. Of course I can move on to the next
Exactly.
thing. I know that I can. And you're being
Exactly.
pulled towards something that is really, really worthwhile. So,
You're 100% right about discipline not being the main thing. Because, I know we have people in the world like David Goggins who just run until their knees are bone to bone and there's nothing left.
it doesn't make
And it's
sense, that guy. Yeah.
exactly, there's what's greater than discipline, which we do lay out in the book, is crafting and helping people craft an image of who they want to be, which is motivation always.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no, oh, I don't know. I don't feel like doing this because you can always ask yourself, well, who do I want to be? And then you go, right, I would
Yeah.
not be doing this right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
the man I
Exactly.
want to be would not be lazy right now.
It never fails you. It never like chickens out. It never balks. It never lets you, sort of sleep in and give yourself a pass. It's like, nope, we have a mission. We're on a mission. We have something that we need to accomplish and we're on it and it's happening. I can't wait to see what today brings. Like that kind of excitement about life. That was all
Right.
clear to me, for whatever strange reason, by sheer instinct, I knew that I was going to go out. And I remember reading my favorite Dr. Seuss book. It's Oh, the Places You'll Go, right?
That's a great one.
Yeah, no, something like the penny dropped for me. I don't remember when that was exactly. I think it was in university. It was in like a sports psychology class, and hilariously. But I remember thinking that I'm gonna wring from life what I want it to give me, and I'm gonna pay, and I don't have a problem paying. And I think it's just that attitude that there is something great out there for you. And this is something that you guys got so right. I'm reading the book now. I'm up to the curriculum basically almost. But the first two sections of the book or the first half of the book are really about mindset, the psychology of young men must have a Persia to conquer. You must have something. It's like, well, we're going to build a boat and go sail across the ocean. It doesn't matter how silly it sounds to other people. It really doesn't, If you can
Right.
fixate on something that, well, these guys did it, these guys figured it out. Why can't I figure it out? Like that kind of can-do attitude. It's not positive thinking. It's not exactly the same. Positive thinking is kind of fatuous. It's like, well, everything's okay because I'm imagining that everything's okay. It's not that. It's that
Right.
life is worthwhile. We're having a grand adventure. When it's over, it's really over. And so like we're here, we might as well win, like that kind of zest for life that says, keep going. Things are tough now. You got a setback in front of you, but it's not that big a
Right.
deal because right in the end, right, the North Star is still up there and we know exactly where we're headed. And it just smooths out a lot of the things that I think for a lot of young people too become, you know, wrongly insurmountable. And by that I just mean it's like, but you're gonna let that stop you? Like what? The
Yeah.
section in the section in the book where it was your father, maybe it was Doug. Alexander was 18 and he had to defend the throne, right? And then his father was killed. He was 20. He was the king of Macedon. He said, "All right, get ready because we're going after the Persian Empire." And so it's like the age thing is not an excuse. Setbacks are not an excuse, right? If you have a high enough goal. And I think this is where I see so many young people go wrong, letting other people set goals because you guys talk about this in there, and you've already alluded to it. The people who, what do you mean you're not going to college? Like, what are you insane? It's like, well, no,
Yeah.
like I've thought it through. You understand? And I have something better to do. And by the way, by the end of this, you're going to agree with me that it was better that I didn't go to college, And so,
Exactly.
yeah, having that thing that gets you out of bed and really gets you, super jazzed up to go live your life is what's that worth, in monetary terms? I don't think you easily put a price on that.
No, you can't. But I mean, it doesn't even have to get you super jazzed up each day. It does every once in a while, but most of the time it's just like, no, I should be doing this. A lot of the time you have to kind of drag yourself along no matter what. And then you have those nice days sprinkled in of like, oh, I'm really, really excited, but it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's having the North Star in mind, something to follow no matter what.
And youth,
100% right.
and youth. I'm 53 this year. It is not the same, you know. And this is
Mm.
maybe it's, we got to sort of wrap up here because I got to go pick my son up from school. The preparation has a beginning. It doesn't matter when you start. It actually doesn't, right? Even if you're in your 30s and you're kind of directionless, right? Go for it because the book is so well written. It's such a great template and a great, it's motivational, but it's practical. And the beginning is whenever you decide to get to it. And so, if you're a young guy watching this, get to it. I mean, that's the lesson is like, don't waste, like if the best time to start was yesterday, the second best is today. So get to it, but it also has an ending. And this is, you didn't ask for my advice, but I'll give it to you anyway, because I have lived through a big portion of this. Family, children, your journey. It's not that my adventure is gone. I sent you pictures. I just sailed to Vieques overnight,
Right.
on my tiny 17-foot trimaran. And so it's not like I don't have adventures. It's not like we're not going places and I don't have things that I'm still chasing after and just having a grand time doing it. But obviously, children matter. And you don't do the same things at age 53 that you did at age 23. Obviously, you can't do them, is partly my point. From a standpoint of vigor, like I didn't sleep very much. I had to keep one eye on the boat because I was parked I pulled it up on the beach at a public beach because I couldn't get anywhere else. There's yahoos around drinking and stuff like this. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wake up and see my boat's missing. So, and not getting a night's sleep when you're 53 is different. I'm here to tell you. And so, there is an ending to it. And I think part of the ending is that, the kind of life I've been fortunate enough to pursue. I too had wonderful family that helped me chase this stuff. And to achieve what I've achieved, such as it is, right? Because to some people it may not seem like much. To me, it was exactly what I wanted to do. And there's a lot to be said for doing exactly what you want to do year after year for like I'm now I'm almost 30 years in. And so um
Mhm.
getting wealthy. It's kind of nice. If you spend the time properly when you're young, developing the skills and developing your character into the kind of person that allows you to get an introduction to Doug Casey and have him get back to you right away, like, absolutely, let's do a podcast. Thanks for reaching out. That you get to move in the kind of circles of people that you also know and respect and have admired in the past. All of that stuff matters. But I think that the ending, I would say crossing the finish line is, look, if you start a family, your journey is not yours anymore. And you do have to take into consideration, you don't take the same risks, you don't do the same crazy things. And that brings me to the last thing I wanted to bring up for you or even ask you about. I think that, and I say this with all sobriety and no joking, I think that I call this the left-hand path because it is, because it's not, it's the path less traveled, as the poet Robert Frost so eloquently described. The idea that you're going to go against society, not against necessarily, but like society does not know what's best for you. And the sooner you figure that out, generally, the happier you will be. You will make your life into something that you designed, that you wanted. And you're getting this at age 20, for heaven's sake. And you're well along the path. I mean, it's happening for you right now. I believe that part of the left-hand path is somewhere along the way, and you are involved in plenty dangerous enough things that you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. You will face your own death. Um, I almost lost my life on a couple of occasions. Not in retrospect, I mean, I don't want to over dramatize it. We rode out a hurricane in the Bahamas in 1998, 97, that would have been, excuse me, Hurricane
Oh,
Mitch,
wow.
I think 97. Dangerous. The anchors held. We lost two anchors, and the third one held. That was a bit dicey. Um,
Yeah,
I was in a house fire in Denver, crazily enough, in 2015, I think it was. We got out by seconds, with seconds to spare, because the fire was moving in such a way, like it would have blocked the stairwell. I was in the basement, 5 in the morning, house is on fire, like flames are like 40 feet high, like
that's
nuts.
crazy.
Yeah. A huge storm hit us on Lake Powell, nearly capsized the boat. Um, Crazy. I caught the whole thing on video. So, like, if you travel outside the confines of societal structure and security,
Hmm.
you will encounter very dangerous and firefighting, sailing, the Southern Ocean, and flying obviously certainly qualify for this. And so obviously I hope you make it, but the left-hand path is dangerous.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, it is dangerous. It's dangerous for reasons not just because of the pursuits that you're involved in, but because leaving societal frameworks and secure safety nets behind is dicey. And so that too is part of the journey. It is. And anytime confront your own death or get close, damn close to it, where you look back and you're like, whew, that was a close one. It gives you an appreciation of the brevity and the beauty, the tremendous beauty of your time on Earth. And so I just tip my hat to you, man. You're doing exactly what you should be doing. I'm so happy to see a young guy who's, and obviously you have a great support network. You have two of the best mentors you could possibly have, to walk you through this stuff. But like you really, you took it by the throat, and I can't wait to hear from you. I can't wait to hear about your next adventure. Where are you off to next? What's coming up?
Well, right now I'm going with the cycles, and I'm on cycle 13, I believe it is, which is the entrepreneur cycle. So I'll be
Yes,
starting my own business here. It'll be an agricultural drone business. And then the cycle after this one, which will be early next year, probably from January to March, will be the fighter cycle, training Muay Thai in Thailand. So I'll
off
do
to
that for
Thailand.
probably a month and a half. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, you're a big lad, so you probably give some of those guys a
I
run
don't
a run
know.
for their money.
The small guys can be dangerous, more dangerous than you think sometimes. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Yeah. I boxed at a gym in Cuba when I was there, and these guys just danced all around me. They just beat me to a pulp, but it was very worthwhile. Like it was a really worthwhile training. So
Hmm.
you get in the gym, you fight as hard as you can, you learn as much as you can, and you keep that sort of hidden away and hope that you never have to actually use it to defend yourself. But you'll do great in that, I'm sure too. So I've said everything. I've probably said too much, but anything you want to leave viewers, readers with? The book, by the way, is excellent. I highly recommend it. Get a Kindle, get a hardback, get a paperback, send it to people you know and care about. It's not just for young men. It really isn't. It is designed for young men in the curriculum, but the practicum part definitely is aimed at helping young men get their lives together, which is desperately needed. This is why this book is going to be a classic. It actually is kind of an instant classic among the people who know it and have already come across it. And so it's bound to make a huge, huge impact on just thousands and thousands of lives, which has to feel good. How much of the writing were you involved in? How much of that did you actually? I've read some stuff that you've written, but like how much did you consult with everybody else? Like, did you guys sit down and write together, or how did that get outlined?
We sat down with Doug a few times just to kind of go over what we had all written and work it out together and see where we needed to improve, where we needed to go. Um, I'd say since we went through so many variations of the book, I mean, it was like three or four different books along the way to get to the final product.
It's a
Um,
beast. It's a beast. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Highly
definitely have,
readable. Yeah. Like it's a page turner to
yeah.
be sure. Yep.
It's very easy to read. I definitely had in those earlier variations, I had more contributions to it, but they weren't as nearly as helpful as all the stuff that's in it now. So I'd say yeah, I have four different parts, four different sections of the book that I wrote,
Nice.
and the rest is my dad and Doug. But it's a fantastic book, and my dad says it's probably the best thing he's done in his life,
He told me
which
that too.
coming from a serial entrepreneur who's now started 20 businesses.
Yeah.
And along with everything else he's done, that's a big statement. So
Yeah.
there's lots to be gained from this book. And you're right, it's for everybody. I mean, just the other day we heard from a reviewer of the book saying he bought one or two of the books for his kids, but they're too
Yep.
young to read it now. But he was going to start himself. This father was going to start going through the cycles himself, and now he's
That's
doing
my
the
point.
medic cycle,
Yeah. That's
actually.
my point. Yep, exactly. Anybody can take something from this book, because the theme that you're dealing with is so timely right now. It's so important that this conversation gets had. And here's a reference source that it's like it'd be one thing to discuss the problem and just like, well, okay, we all agree it's a big problem. Like young men are at a real dead end in and how society has gotten to a point where obviously no functioning society discards men and men's contribution, but that's exactly what a lot of young guys especially feel right now. And the options that are open to them are, as we've said, and it's like, you gonna go to Wall Street? Have fun with that. I know people who've done that. Like, trust me, it ain't all that. And so, just a tremendous piece of work. Maxim, thank you very much. People can find you on Substack. What's the Substack again?
Yeah, that would be maximsmith.com. There's also thepreparation.com where people can
Okay.
go to learn more about the preparation. But the book itself, which I have here, this is the hardcover,
Boom.
is on Amazon. And I recommend the hardcover. It's much prettier
Yes.
than the paperback, obviously much prettier than the Kindle. So get the
Yes,
hardcover.
exactly. Yes, I've already ordered two, and the book is excellent. Everybody should get it. Uh, Maxim, thanks very much. What a treasure
Thank
to
you,
get a
Dane.
chance to talk to you. All the best to you. Good luck with everything down there, and on your next. Well, we'll check back in with you at some point.
Sounds great. Thank you, Tane. Appreciate it,
Love it.
man.
Thanks, buddy. All the best. Mavericks Project is a private community focused on powerful connections, trusted information, and time-tested solutions to create and preserve wealth during our epoch of extreme change. The Mavericks Project was born out of the social, economic, and geopolitical schism that kicked off in 2020. A small band of contrarian misfits spent the lockdown years observing problems, analyzing the implications, and plotting solutions. Now, several times a year, we Mavericks get together in fun and fascinating locations to talk about solutions to the social dangers to your family's safety and how to avoid them, the increasing state surveillance and how to negate it, the rapidly declining U.S. empire and how we want to position for what's coming next, the risks to your family's generational wealth and how to protect it. If you think you have what it takes to be a Maverick, this is your chance to come make new and better friends with some of the most accomplished people you will ever meet. Join us from November 4th to 7th in Dallas, Texas for 3 unforgettable days of action, discussion, and answers. The link for the event, along with all the details, is below this video.